Hi, today I would like to demonstrate a new ConnectBooster feature, the integration with GreatAmerica Financial Services data. With this integration, you will no longer have to wait for the monthly summary to apply payments toward invoices. Payments will show on your ConnectBooster dashboard within 1 day of receiving the payment. Since our integration will reconcile the transaction between your accounting software and GreatAmerica, you will spend less time manually creating and matching transactions in the accounting software. Let me explain how this works. In order for a payment to be applied properly in the accounting software, it needs to have an invoice to be applied towards. Our integration will allow the payment to be applied towards an existing invoice or by creating a new one. This flowchart shows the logic we use to determine whether to use an existing invoice or let you create a new invoice. Let me break it down into the different scenarios. If you are using the GreatAmerica ConnectWise integration, you are sharing an invoice number with GreatAmerica in the vendor invoice number field. For payments from GreatAmerica, where the vendor invoice number has a value, ConnectBooster will apply the payment towards that invoice in the accounting software. If there is no vendor invoice number, you can create a new invoice or select an existing invoice. A new invoice will be created for any payment that doesn't have a vendor invoice number, is a new contract, or the same contract but a different payment amount. Once the invoice has been saved with the payment and it has been submitted to the accounting software, it will be used as a template for future payments. So, if a payment is brought in the following month for the same contract ID and the same amount, an invoice will be automatically created and synced to the accounting software. That template will continue to be used for that customer until the contract or payment amount changes. If you don't want to create an invoice but rather apply it towards an existing invoice, you can select an existing invoice to apply the payment towards. The invoice needs to be an open invoice that is equal or greater to the payment amount. Once the GreatAmerica integration has been set up, you will now see a token on the portal overview page indicating that there are GreatAmerica payments that need action. By clicking on this token, you are taken to the GreatAmerica payments page. On this page, the unresolved payments for the last 30 days are shown. There is also the ability to search for a given payment or customer in the lookup field. You can also adjust by the date range to see more of the payments that are being shown. Payments that have a vendor invoice number are in the invoice pending state. You can view the invoice by clicking on the View Invoice button. Now you can see more details of the invoice that the payment will be applied towards. There is nothing needed for you to do with these payments. After the next accounting sync, the payment will be applied towards the invoice number in the vendor invoice number field. Payments that need to have an invoice created or selected are in an incomplete state. Click the Edit Invoice button to create or select an existing invoice. In the upper right-hand corner, you will find a helpful indicator that shows the total due on the invoice, the amount of the line items, and the remaining amount until the line item equals the total amount due. Once you have entered line items that equal the total due or the remaining is 0, you can submit the invoice. Now that my amount is 0, I will submit the payment. The payment will remain in a sync pending state until the sync with the accounting software has occurred. The invoice will be created after the accounting sync and the payment will be applied. If the same customer has another payment for the same contract and the amount the next month, the invoice will be generated automatically using the same details as the original invoice. If you are editing the invoice and want to use an existing invoice to apply the payment, you can use the Select Invoice field in that Edit Invoice form. By clicking in the Select Invoice lookup, the lookup will search for any invoices that have an open amount that is greater or equal to the payment amount. Using the Select Invoice feature is helpful if you have an accumulative invoice and want GreatAmerica payments to be applied towards the balance on that particular invoice. If you change your mind and want to create the invoice instead, use selection Use Automatically Generated Invoice to go back to the invoice template where you can select and add the line items. For this demo, though, I actually want to use one of my open invoices. Now that I have selected the invoice, I will submit the payment. In this demo, I was showing scenarios when manual intervention is needed. Payments that have a vendor invoice number from the GreatAmerica ConnectWise integration will automatically apply after syncing with the accounting software. Payments that are recurring will get an initial invoice created, and subsequent payments will have the invoice created and the payment applied automatically. The only time you will need to come into the GreatAmerica Payments page will be when a new payment is entered that doesn't have a vendor invoice number or the payment doesn't use the invoice template. You can also use this page to get a report of the completed payments by changing the filters to the desired range. Just as I have done here after my accounting sync, I have changed the filter to complete, and I've seen that my transactions have now gone through successfully. If you would like to learn more about the ConnectBooster GreatAmerica Financial Services integration, please reach out to info@connectbooster.com.